The crisp morning air of Washington barely registered on J.D. Vance. Newly minted Vice President of the United States, he found himself staring out the window, the Capitol dome gleaming distantly. A summons had arrived, an invitation, or perhaps a challenge, from Marcus Bennett, the titan of liberal talk shows. Bennett was known for his sharp wit, relentless questioning, and a knack for cornering even the most seasoned politicians. Vance knew this wasn't just another appearance, it was a battlefield. The invitation itself was cordial enough, promising a discussion on the future of America, unity, and bridging divides, but a nervous flutter in his stomach told him otherwise. Sarah, his trusted aide, confirmed his unease. "Sir," she began hesitantly, "we've received information from our contacts within the network. Bennett's team is prepping a series of highly sensitive questions, focusing on your past criticisms of President Trump, your stance on certain cultural issues, and even some allegations related to your business dealings before entering politics." A wave of frustration washed over Vance. He had anticipated scrutiny, but this felt like a calculated ambush. He closed his eyes, remembering the countless hours he had spent wrestling with his own convictions, the difficult decisions he had made to serve his country. Now, he was about to face a gauntlet of public judgment. Later that evening, he found himself pacing in his office, a familiar ache settling in his chest. He picked up the phone, calling his wife, Usha. Her calm voice was a balm to his frayed nerves. "Honey," he said, "I need your advice. Bennett's going to come after me hard. He's dug up everything, the old tweets, the controversial statements, even those land deals from years ago. I'm not sure how to navigate this." Usha listened patiently, her quiet strength a reassuring presence. "JD, you've faced tougher battles than this. Remember where you come from, the values you hold dear. Don't let him rattle you. Be honest, be authentic, and let your actions speak for themselves. The truth will always prevail." Her words were a lifeline, grounding him in the core principles that had guided him this far. The studio hummed with a frenetic energy. Makeup artists buzzed around, cables snaked across the floor, and the air crackled with anticipation. J.D. Vance stood backstage, trying to center himself amidst the chaos. He noticed subtle cues that amplified his unease: an unusually tight-lipped producer, a stage manager avoiding eye contact, and a script lying face down on Bennett's desk, its contents concealed. The scent of manufactured controversy hung heavy in the air. He thought back to his time in the Marines. The lessons learned in the heat of battle: control your emotions, assess the situation, and never underestimate your opponent. He had to stay focused, composed, and prepared for anything. Moments before airtime, Sarah approached him, her face etched with concern. "Sir, I just overheard Bennett talking to one of his writers. He's planning to bring up that old investigation into your company, the one the Democrats tried to use against you during the campaign. They're going to paint you as a hypocrite, someone who profited off the backs of working-class families while preaching about their struggles." Vance took a deep breath, his jaw tightening. He knew this was going to be a long, brutal night. He looked at Sarah, his eyes filled with determination. "Sarah, I'm not going to let them define me. I'm going to tell the truth, defend my record, and stand up for the principles I believe in. No matter what Bennett throws at me, I'm not backing down." He straightened his tie, squared his shoulders, and walked onto the stage, a warrior entering the arena. The bright lights blinded him momentarily, but he could feel the weight of millions of eyes upon him, judging his every move. Marcus Bennett greeted him with a disarming smile, but Vance saw the glint of steel in his eyes. The battle had begun. "Welcome to Bennett Speaks," Marcus Bennett announced, his voice resonating with practiced authority. "Tonight, we have the honor of hosting Vice President J.D. Vance, a man who has taken a fascinating journey through the American political landscape." He turned to Vance, his smile unwavering. "Mr. Vice President, you were once a vocal critic of Donald Trump. Now, you're his second in command. What change?" The question hung in the air, a clear invitation to stumble. Bennett expected a defensive response, a clumsy attempt to justify a perceived betrayal. But Vance was ready. He met Bennett's gaze directly, his voice calm and measured. "Marcus, people evolve. We learn. We grow. We gain new perspectives. My understanding of Donald Trump changed as I witnessed his leadership firsthand. I saw his commitment to the American people, his willingness to challenge the status quo, and his unwavering belief in the potential of this country. I may have had disagreements in the past, but I've learned to appreciate his strengths and his vision. Bennett raised an eyebrow, a hint of surprise flickering across his face. So, you abandoned your principles for political expediency? Not at all, Vance countered. My principles remain the same: a commitment to economic opportunity, a strong national defense, and a belief in the power of individual responsibility. I simply realized that these goals could be achieved through a different path. Under a different leader. Have you never changed your mind, Marcus? Have you never re-evaluated your beliefs in the face of new evidence? The studio audience stirred, a murmur of discontent rippling through the crowd. Bennett shifted uncomfortably. He had expected Vance to crumble under pressure, to be forced into a corner. Instead, he was being challenged on his own turf. The air crackled with tension. Bennett, recovering quickly, shifted his attack. Mr. Vice President, let's talk about your speech at the National Prayer Breakfast. Some critics have accused you of blurring the lines between religion and politics, using faith as a tool to advance your agenda. How do you respond to that? Vance, far from backing down, leaned forward. Marcus, faith is not a tool. It's a foundation. It's the bedrock of our society, the moral compass that guides our actions. The Founding Fathers understood this. They believed in the importance of religious liberty, but they also recognized the vital role that faith plays in shaping our national character. I'm not ashamed to talk about my faith. I'm not ashamed to draw inspiration from the teachings of the Bible. In fact, I believe it's essential for leaders to have a strong moral compass, a sense of something larger than themselves. He paused, his voice softening. I grew up in Middletown, Ohio. My grandmother, Mama, was the moral center of our family. She taught me the importance of hard work, honesty, and faith. She showed me that even in the face of adversity, you can always find strength in God and in the love of your family. Those values have stayed with me throughout my life. They guide my decisions as vice president, and I will never apologize for that. A hush fell over the studio. Vance's sincerity was palpable, his words resonating with many in the audience. Bennett, momentarily disarmed, struggled to regain control of the narrative. He had underestimated Vance's ability to connect with people on a personal level, to transform a political debate into a conversation about core values. The tide was turning. Bennett, sensing the shift in momentum, reached for his most potent weapon. Mr. Vice President, let's not forget your past criticisms of President Trump. You've called him everything from a cultural heroine to a political disaster. How can the American people trust someone who so vehemently opposed their current leader? Vance, prepared for this line of attack, didn't flinch. Marcus, I've never denied my past criticisms. I had concerns about President Trump's temperament, his policies, and his impact on our society. But I also learned a great deal from him. I saw his ability to connect with ordinary Americans, his willingness to challenge conventional wisdom, and his unwavering determination to put America first. He achieved significant accomplishments during his first term, from tax cuts to regulatory reform to strengthening our military. I've learned to appreciate his leadership, and I'm proud to serve alongside him. He paused, his eyes locking with Bennett's. We live in a media environment that rewards sound bites and sensationalism. But at the end of the day, what really matters are results. President Trump has delivered results for the American people, and I'm committed to helping him continue to do so. Vance then skillfully pivoted, turning the tables on Bennett. Marcus, you've spent your career criticizing Republicans, demonizing conservatives, and promoting a liberal agenda. But what have you actually accomplished? What tangible benefits have your policies brought to the American people? It's easy to criticize from the sidelines, but it takes real courage and leadership to get things done. The audience erupted in applause. Vance's ability to turn a negative attack into a positive defense had caught Bennett off guard. The host struggled to find a coherent response, his carefully crafted narrative unraveling before his eyes. Growing increasingly desperate, Bennett sought to undermine Vance's authenticity. Mr. Vice President, you've come a long way from Middletown, Ohio. You've made millions in the venture capital world, hobnobbed with elites, And now you're living in the lap of luxury in Washington. Have you forgotten where you came from? Have you lost touch with the struggles of ordinary Americans? Vance's expression hardened. Marcus, I'll never forget where I came from. I'll never forget the poverty, the addiction, and the despair that plagued my community. That's why I'm in public service, to fight for those who have been left behind. To give a voice to the voiceless. To ensure that every American has the opportunity to achieve their dreams. Regardless of their background, he shared a poignant anecdote about his childhood, about the challenges he faced growing up in a broken home, about the unwavering support of his grandmother, Mama, who instilled in him the values of hard work, perseverance, and faith. Mama didn't have much, but she gave me everything I needed: love, guidance, and a belief in myself. I'm standing here today because of her. I owe it to her, and to all those who have struggled and sacrificed, to fight for a better future for our country. The studio was silent, captivated by Vance's heartfelt words. Even Bennett seemed moved, a flicker of empathy crossing his face. The veneer of political animosity had been stripped away, revealing the raw humanity beneath. Vance could feel the shift in momentum, the palpable change in Bennett's demeanor. It was time to press his advantage. Marcus, he began, his voice calm but firm. You've spent the last hour questioning my principles, my motives, and my integrity, but I want to ask you a question. Have you ever changed your mind about anything? Have you ever reevaluated your beliefs in the face of new evidence? Or are you so certain in your own righteousness that you're incapable of admitting a mistake? Bennett stammered, caught off guard by the unexpected interrogation. Well, I think I've evolved on certain issues over the years. Evolved, or adapted to the prevailing winds of political correctness? Vance countered, his voice laced with skepticism. It's easy to preach to the choir, to parrot the conventional wisdom, to cater to the demands of the liberal elite. But it takes real courage to stand up for what you believe in. Even when it's unpopular, even when it means facing criticism and ridicule. Have you ever done that, Marcus? Have you ever taken a stand that truly challenged the status quo? Bennett, flustered and defensive, attempted to deflect the question. But Vance pressed relentlessly. I'm not asking you to agree with me. I'm simply asking you to be honest with yourself. To confront the contradictions in your own beliefs. To acknowledge the possibility that you might be wrong. Bennett, desperately seeking to regain his footing, revisited the issue of religion. Mr. Vice President, are you suggesting that your faith gives you some kind of moral superiority? Are you implying that those who don't share your beliefs are somehow less virtuous? Vance, seizing the opportunity, responded with passion and conviction. Absolutely not. I believe that all people are created equal, regardless of their faith or their background. I respect the right of every American to worship, or not worship, as they choose, but I also believe that faith is a powerful force for good in the world. It inspires us to be better people, to treat others with compassion and respect, to strive for justice and equality. He reiterated his earlier point about the Founding Fathers, emphasizing their belief in the importance of religious liberty. They understood that a nation without faith is a nation without a soul. They created a system that protects the right of every individual to practice their religion freely, without fear of government interference. He then recounted another poignant story from his childhood, about the kindness and generosity of a local church that had helped his family during a time of crisis. That church didn't ask about our politics or our beliefs. They simply saw a family in need, and they offered their help. That's the true spirit of Christianity, the true spirit of America. Vance, emboldened by the audience's positive response, shifted his focus to the broader issue of media bias. Marcus, you and I both know that the mainstream media has a certain narrative that they want to promote. They tend to favor liberal policies. They tend to demonize conservatives. And they tend to dismiss anyone who challenges their worldview. But that's not the reality of America. There are millions of people in this country who feel ignored, marginalized, and disenfranchised by the media elite. They believe in traditional values. They believe in hard work. And they believe in the American dream. But they're tired of being told that their beliefs are outdated, that their values are irrelevant, that their voices don't matter. He paused, his voice rising with passion. I'm here to tell them that they do matter. Their voices are important, and their beliefs are valid. I'm here to fight for them, to stand up for their values, and to ensure that their voices are heard in Washington. Bennett, visibly shaken, attempted to interrupt, but Vance continued, his momentum unstoppable. The media wants to divide us, to pit us against each other, to create a climate of fear and distrust. But we can't let them. We have to remember what unites us, our shared love of this country, our commitment to freedom and opportunity, and our belief in the power of the American spirit. As the clock ticked down, signaling the end of the interview, Vance delivered his closing statement. Marcus, I came here tonight to have a conversation about the future of America, about how we can bridge our divides, and how we can work together to create a better future for all Americans. I know that we have our differences, but I believe that we have more in common than we realize. We both want what's best for this country. We both want to see our children and grandchildren thrive. And we both want to leave a legacy of peace, prosperity, and freedom. He looked directly into the camera, addressing the millions of viewers watching at home. I challenge all of you to put aside your differences, to reach out to those who disagree with you, to listen to their perspectives, and to find common ground. We're all Americans, and we're all in this together. Let's work together to build a brighter future for our country. The studio audience erupted in thunderous applause. Bennett, defeated but gracious, shook Vance's hand. The interview was over. As Vance walked off the stage, he knew that he had faced a formidable challenge, but he had emerged victorious. He had defended his principles, stood up for his values, and inspired hope in the hearts of millions. The Bennett confrontation had become a defining moment in his career, a testament to his courage, his integrity, and his unwavering commitment to the American dream. The future, though uncertain, felt a little brighter.